I just like to say how honored we are by so many people here. I won't mention my three co-residents, George Curry, Brian Cuddy, and Sunil Patel, who traveled a long way to be here tonight. My two best students at Georgetown, sitting over here, Reagan Foley and here's the person next to you, yeah. Cormac Mayer, who are really, Cormac's already a professor, and it seemed like yesterday we were writing a paper together. He was a medical student, but we have some. I thought it'd be good to honor before we get into our honorees, to honor Raymond Damadian, the inventor of MRI, and it's such an extraordinary story, you know. Raymond almost went to the Juilliard. He was a gifted violinist. Instead, he went to medical school, Albert Einstein, went into medicine, served at NIH, or in the, doing research, and he became intrigued with with how electricity was the basis of our nervous system. And he set about trying to find that elusive sodium pump that had been described by Aldous Huxley, for which he got a Nobel Prize. But in so doing, it led him down a research path where he was able to use nuclear magnetic resonance, a tool that was recently available in the late 60s, to measure the intracellular ion concentration in living cells. And he extrapolated from this bench research project that he might be able to build a superconductor to actually look into the living tissue of human beings. And he received some startup money from the National Cancer Institute, but when that ran out, they told him that this idea was harebrained, it was a visionary, fanciful, visionary nonsense, and simply impossible. And yet he persisted. He and his two engineer colleagues designed and built by their own hands the first MRI. This involved winding 30 miles of titanium superconductor wire to build these giant magnets. And they're cooled with liquid helium, which is only liquid at minus 267 degrees Celsius. And he built this thing, had to knock out a foot of the granite floor in order to have the height to build this machine. But he ran out of funds, and he went to the government. The government gave him nothing. So he went to the President Carter, who was a nuclear engineer, and President Carter gave him nothing. But his project came to the attention of some private philanthropists, and they supported the rest of the endeavor. And that was Bill and Clark Akers. And by happenstance, the godson of Will Akers is right here tonight, John Makel, and his lovely wife, Karen. So Dr. Damadian built the machine he called Indomitable. But I think it was misnamed. I think that Dr. Damadian is indomitable himself. Okay. So now Dr. Benza will be introducing Hal Rekate, but just so that you, I don't know if you all know Dr. Benzel, but so that you might know he's a credible witness in terms of what he's going to say about Hal Rekate. I want to review a little bit of Hal's past, of Ed's past. And he doesn't want me to do this because he's sort of modest and he hates anyone talking about him, but it's not his choice. He was Phi Beta Kappa in engineering. He got his medical degree in Wisconsin, completed his residency in neurosurgery, then a fellowship. He was teacher of the year, and very quickly he became chairman of neurosurgery at New Mexico, and a few years later became chairman of spine at Cleveland Clinic, and then shortly afterwards, the chairman of Department of Neurosurgery at Cleveland Clinic. So you know, my son said, you know, you really ought to look at his entire resume to get, you know, the full measure of him. I've known Ed for 20 years, but I said, okay, so I got his resume on Friday, and it's 186 pages long. So I don't know how many of you have read the Bible and the book of Numbers. This makes the book of Numbers seem trifling. So it'd be too tedious to tell you he's written 381 manuscripts, 428 book chapters. He's published 10 books, edited 27 books. But it's more compelling to mention that he trained over 64 residents, 83 research fellows, 126 clinical surgical fellows, mostly while at the Cleveland Clinic. So Mary, I don't know when you ever had a chance to see Ed, but in his spare time, Ed would run marathons, and every year on his birthday, he'd run his age. Now, Videography couldn't handle 2 marathons, but Ed Benzel would run more than 2 marathons on his birthday, and I think he stopped doing that now. More important even than that is he is respected not just as a surgeon, but as a man of great integrity, of humility, of generosity, and kindness. I mean, he is one of the, as is one of the later people we'll be talking about, one of the great men of neurosurgery, because he has projected what it is to be a good person, someone who is upbuilding of society, and who dedicates his life to helping others. So, Ed, if you would be so kind to come up, because it's your job now to introduce Hal Rekate.
Fraser, thank you. The trouble with this evening is it's not about me, it's about Hal and Ben. And I'm going to try to weave a tale here and tell a story about Hal Rekate, who is a neurosurgical icon and a professor and the 2020 International Excellence in Medicine Medal Award winner. He is retired from the Chiari Institute as the director of the Chiari Institute within the Northwell Health System in 2019. That's sort of the end, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about what happened in his career just before the end, and then go back in time. He is now Professor Emeritus at the Donald and Barbara Zucker Hofstra Northwell School of Medicine. Prior to joining the Chiari Institute, he was a professor of neurosurgery and a pediatric neurosurgeon at the Barrow Neurologic Institute. He moved there from Cleveland, and a little bit more about that later, at the junction of 1984 and 1985. And he left there after having a wonderful career to pursue what I would consider a calling at the Chiari Institute. I view him as a savior. As the newly appointed director of the Chiari Institute, he literally swooped in to right a ship that was under significant siege. He provided leadership, functioned as a beacon of professionalism, integrity, and honesty, as well as providing a very healthy dose of clinical expertise. There is likely no one on earth than Hal who could have pulled this off during this critical time and era. Dr. Rekate's origins in neurosurgery are unique, and I ask, how did Hal become Hal? Because he is indeed a very special person. He completed his undergraduate studies in Duke, so just there's sort of the standard things that people do. They go to college, they go to medical school, they do all those things, but then what differentiates people like Hal Rekate from the rest of us? He received his medical degree from the Medical College of Virginia. He trained in neurosurgery and pediatric neurosurgery at university hospitals in Cleveland, and I'm from the Cleveland Clinic, so naturally, if we'd have been there at the same time, which we weren't, we would have been competitors. Upon completion of his residency, he was appointed assistant professor of neurosurgery and pediatrics at Case in Cleveland, and adjunct professor of systems design and engineering at the Case Institute. Then, at that junction in December, January of 84, 85, he went to the BNI because of some catastrophic political changes at Case at the time. And it turns out that there's probably a wonderful move for him. He serves as chairman of the Joint Section of Pediatric Neurosurgery. He was the past president of both the American Society for Pediatric Neurosurgeons and the International Society of Pediatric Neurosurgery. He is widely published with more than 200 publications, most of which are related to cerebral spinal fluid disorders, including Chiari malformations, syringomyelia, and hydrocephalus. He also served as editor of multiple prestigious journals, including the chairman of the editorial board for the Journal of Neurosurgery Pediatrics. Over the course of his career, he has done extensive research regarding spinal fluid flow, receiving funding from the NIH and the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. He has received numerous awards and honors, including the prestigious Pudens Award of Excellence in Research in Cerebral Spinal Fluid Physiology. He was an advisor to NASA in its intracranial pressure and visual loss program, and for his work on the management of hypothalamic hamartoma. The Hope for Hypothalamic Hamartoma organization created the Rosenfeld-Rekate Pioneer Award for work on innovation, collaboration, and transformation. This is the history on the surface. There's a lot of people go through things like this, but what lies below the surface is what really counts here regarding Hal Rekate. He is a wonderful human being. I must admit, I and another person who I will reveal in a bit are secret admirers of Hal. Why, you might ask? When Hal speaks, everybody listens. He always tells the truth. He strives to do what's right. He is egalitarian. He is empathic. He listens and then speaks with reason and forethought. We should all want to be like Hal. He is a teacher and a mentor to so many, including colleagues and fellows, residents and students. He has received multiple accolades for teaching and mentoring, particularly medical students, which he is very fond of mentoring and teaching. And as I previously stated, he is a savior. He is most proud of his legacy of teaching and mentoring, but also proud of his influence on transitional neurosurgical care. He was a transition neurosurgeon extraordinaire. As president of the American Society for Pediatric Neurosurgeons from 2000 to 2002, he led discussions regarding what happens to patients and families when their hospitals do not allow the care of adults. They're in a pediatric situation. In 2006, he gave the annual AANS, that's American Association of Neurologic Surgeons, Donald Mattson lecture on the transition of patients from pediatric care to adult care. He was a champion for the care of patients who were treated initially in infancy, but were not cured in infancy. These included hydrocephalus, Chiari malformation, and syringomyelia patients. These patients all too often fell between the cracks. Hal sealed these cracks. This is a quote from Dr. Rekate. Tells you a little bit about who he is. Seeing outcomes from treatments I have operated on decades earlier has been exciting, sometimes troubling, but mostly an extremely important part of my development as a physician. For most of neurosurgery, interactions with patients are episodes with a beginning and an end. Due to the nature of the issues I deal with, I have had the opportunity to be a part of people's lives over a long period of time. Last night, I was at a dinner with Hal, and we were sitting next to each other, and Dorothy Poppy shared a letter which from another secret admirer, which I asked permission, and I spoke to her today. This is from Petra Kling, a neurosurgeon at Brown, and it really tells it like it is about Hal. I actually got permission verbally from her today to read this, and she was just very apologetic for not being able to be here, Hal. This is the letter. My dear mentor, I truly regret that I cannot join you tonight after all. You watched over me since we met at a meeting at the World Federation of Neurological Surgeons in Amsterdam in 1997. When you handed to me your business card after my poster presentation of cerebral blood flow and hydrocephalus, proposing to publish this important work and to move on, in my second year of neurosurgery residency, I had absolutely no idea of what lies ahead. But it was that day and moment that I believe in an academic teaching career. I still carry that card, business card, around with me. I will never forget. And until today, you have always graciously and unconditionally supported me in my academic and scientific endeavors, including coming to the United States. As your faithful follower ever since, I was inspired and fascinated by your visionary and pioneering work and your game-changing activities, including the foundation of the International Hydrocephalus Imaging Work Group that for the first time connected multiple disciplines to figure out hydrocephalus. Your extreme courage, honesty, and sincerity in all you do is what I appreciate the most about you. I often think of this and wish I could inherit just even a little bit of it. Anyways, from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to thank you for your friendship and all the hydrocephalus endeavors and activities we joined. And I remember all of them like yesterday because of you. I hope you like this. She then showed a picture of him, which I won't share. So, in closing, this really says it all. What a guy, what an honor for me to be chosen to present you, Hal Rekate, for the 2020 International Excellence in Medicine Medal. Hal.
Camille.
We have a special presenter. Hi, Dr. Rekate. How are you?
I'm great. How could I not be great?
I have to tell you, I might be one of your other secret admirers because I'm also at MCV.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Hold on. We're going to have you turn right there. I'm going to not be very good at this because I'm a little short. Thanks. Perfect. Then we'll turn right there.
Thank you.
Perfect. No. Turn this.
Thank you. I'll make it short. How could I, I'm gefunt, whatever you call that. This is tremendous, and thank you so much, Ed. I also want to say that I'm completely retired now, and after 50 years, since 1970, when I started neurosurgery, you don't plan for being finished. And do you leave stuff on the table? There's still so much to do. There's so much I would like to have done that I haven't been able to do. But tonight, I realized that there's so many people in so many ways that are going to take up this flag and make it finished and make it better. And I'm so excited of the people that are in this room that will help to do that. And I need you all to finish the things that we have started so long ago. Thank you very much for being here.